Before we get this video started, please make sure to like, favor, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications so that way you never miss out on another video. Almost to 500 subscribers, my Gummy Knights. Let's go ahead and make it happen.
You know something, my Knights? I cannot think of a morning when I hadn't woken up with the thought of strangling myself.
Okay.
Anyway, we got another one of these. Quick, fast, easy. Let's go on and get into it.
Heavy is the hand that wears the crown.
So I'm watching this video by The Closer Look, and it's in the video title is How to Alienate Your Audience. Now, to go ahead and get started here on my contention, or the point I have contention with that I wish to quote-unquote debunk or talk about, is this moment right here.
When it comes to handling controversial topics in fiction, there is a fascinating disparity. Take, for example, the recent season of Doctor Who, which has been widely criticised for being too political. So if an alien were to see just the reaction to that one season of the show, then they might think that, well, controversial political topics have no place in fiction. People just don't seem to like them. However, when you take a step back and look around, that idea really begins to fall apart, because there's a ton of fiction out there that covers the most sensitive, the most controversial topics, yet is received with near universal acclaim. Films like Look Who's Back, or American History X, for example. I mean, American History X is all about racism in modern day America. You'd be hard pressed to find a more sensitive topic than that, yet the vast majority of those who have watched the film seem to very much enjoy it. Doesn't that strike you as odd? How one work can cover politics and be torn down for allegations of being too political, but another can get drenched in the most sensitive topics, exploring every nook and cranny, yet receive critical acclaim and become beloved by the public. This topic, on how to cover political ideas in fiction, it's an enigma. It feels like nobody ever talks about it, and thusly, it fascinates me, and I hope after watching this video, it fascinates you too.
Now, I only got about a minute into, and of course, you know, as I always do, I watch ahead to see if anybody... As you know, I always do, I watch ahead to see whether or not they clear up what they were saying, to whether or not they clarify exactly what their statements are, and if they don't, I go ahead and make the video. So he's talking about Doctor Who, of course, and he was trying to decipher the enigma that is one subject being political and another subject being political, and why there's a delineation between the two when it comes to the fact that some people may not like one thing that is political, but like another that is political. And so the example that he uses, the example in the film American History X. He's trying to sit there and point out how the idea falls apart that you can talk about one thing being political and disagree with it, and another thing being political and liking it. However, the example he uses in American History X is different from Doctor Who. The reason why that can receive universal acclaim for being too political is it's specifically designed to be political. Now, I'm assuming there are examples out there, but however, using this example is what makes his argument fall apart, not the other way around. His argument is the one that's falling apart, because he's using a movie that is specifically designed to be political. When people go and see that movie, when people watch that movie, look at that movie, they are there specifically for the political messaging, because that's what the movie is about. It has a political agenda and it has a political message specifically. This is not the case with Doctor Who. You can argue that Doctor Who has always had some semblance of politics in it, but that pertains to just about every fiction imaginable. However, Doctor Who is not specifically about politics. It's about a time-traveling space wizard who gets reincarnated into different lives and goes on adventures with a bunch of other people. Now, I know some people are going to criticize that little summary, but it's a summary. I'm not going super in-depth on what Doctor Who is all about. So there's a difference there. Doctor Who was not created nor ever meant to be straight-up political. And so what people disagree with is when they're saying that becomes too political, especially when it's pertaining to only one side of the political argument, is that is not what the show is meant to be about. Hence why your title is so perfect, How to Alienate Your Audience. Because that is not the core demographic. When you look at American History X, the core demographic of that film would be based around people who are there for a certain political ideology. Whether or not they agree with it, whether or not they disagree with it, doesn't really matter. They're going into that movie because that movie is designed to be specifically political. Doctor Who is not designed to be specifically political. So this is why that argument does not fall apart. This is why something like American History X can be universally praised by its depiction of political differences, and why something like Doctor Who would be universally criticized. Because when you go too political on something that isn't inherently or designed to be political, especially when, again, you take it to only one side, and you look at one side and say, that side is great, that side is right, and the other side is completely wrong, and you always show them in a negative light, then you can understand why that may alienate an audience, why specific people may be upset with that type of depiction. especially when that's not what the show is about. Most fictions who do even add politics within their fiction and a show or movie or whatever, it's not about politics. Most of them that do that usually tend to take it from a apolitical standpoint. It is only recently that they have not really been doing that. You look at comics, video games, movies, TV shows, where you often get one side being shown and the other side being evil. Now you could say that's a product of our current political climate, and you'd be pretty much right in that assertion. However, there is still a difference. That should not be what this is about, right? The show should be about whatever the show's topic is. If that is specifically meant to be political, then that is fine. I'm assuming most people would not then call it too political. They may not watch it because it's too political and they don't want to see a political show, but at the same time, they won't say it's too political because they would understand exactly what it's about. But something that's not meant to be political and is not designed around being specifically political, that is different. But anyway, like I said, pretty quick one here. Hopefully that kind of like explains it to him and explains it to you guys, the difference there, and how the argument does not fall apart. The argument does not fall apart when you sit there and call one too political and not the other. Because again, one is specifically designed to be political and the other one is not. As long as that fiction takes an apolitical standpoint to where even if they do have politics in there, they're willing to show both sides and in a neutral light to where it lets the people decide, then that's perfectly fine, right? They're not beating overhead, they're not preaching one-sided messages that are meant to condemn anyone who has a differing opinion than them. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Ain't nobody gonna do for you. Pull the trigger.
Maybe you should pull the fucking trigger.
You are a bigot.
Okay.
Yo, all you sucker MCs ain't got nothing on me. From my grades to my lines, you can't touch Kevin G. I'm a mathlete, a nerd isn't birds, but forget what you heard. I'm like James Bond III, shaking, not stirred. I'm Kevin the Poor. The G is silent when I sneak in your door. Make love to your woman on the bathroom floor. I don't play like Shaggy, you'll know it was me, cause the next time you see her, she'll be like.